Just like every other squad event, you'll have 20 minutes of execution time, 10 minutes of prep time. In your prep time, this is all that you can do. So you can identify your site, identify your anchor, and lay out your ropes. The equipment that you need, all right, and I would write this down so you guys can practice this if you have the equipment, is 3 squad ropes that are 150 feet long. 4 15-foot sling ropes. 3 51 kilonewton steel locking carabiners. A trash bag. A rucksack. And 2 A-frame poles that are approximately 8 to 12 feet in length and 4 to 6 inches in diameter. I don't want to yell, I've been yelling all day. 4 to 6 inches. Yep, so what I mean by that is the base of the poles. Alright, you want it generally all in the same size, but the base of the pole is no bigger than 6 inches.
Do they give us those poles, or is it like, don't find them?
They give you the poles. These are actually old poles that they used to use that they retired because they're trash, so we're going to work with what we got right now.
Okay.
I'm actually working on cutting down a couple trees and making our own. Alright, so now I'll orient you to my site. Behind you, this light pole, that's going to be our anchor. Okay. These logs here are my cliff. Okay, so we'll extend this pass over that, and that'll be my cliff face. This rope that's on the ground right here, this is going to be my safety line. You will have a safety line both at the training site and at the cliff site. All right. Safety, they preach, is going to be the biggest thing there. If you are a safety violation, automatic no-go. So make sure that you listen to what the safety violations are, and always make sure that you make sure that you're always paying attention to those safeties. All right. So let's talk about a little bit about how I have my ropes set up. All right. Some of it kind of looks like a scramble. It's because 15-foot sling ropes, you don't really need to backstack them. They're only 15 feet long. Okay. I got 4 of those. 2 are up here at the top of my poles, and I have 2 that are down at the base of my poles. All right. 2 of my squad ropes are going to be used for my continuous loop. And the way that I have that is just both one end of the rope out, backstack it into the center, and then make sure that the other end is on the other side. The reason why I do that is because I'm going to join these 250-foot ropes. So we want to make sure that we have the ends of the rope on both of those ropes. Okay. Next, if you move over to the anchor, I have my third 150-foot rope. This 150-foot squad rope, this is going to be our anchor rope. Okay. We're going to tie our apex, and it's going to come all the way back to our anchor. This is what's going to extend out from our A-frame all the way to our anchor. If you look, the way that I backstacked it is I found the center of the rope and I double backstacked it in a figure 8 configuration. Okay, so all I did is found the center of the rope, had those 2 ends, placed it down, and then just traced it into a double figure of 8, keeping out a bite, because this bite is going to be the center of our apex. Alright, so in those 10 minutes of prep time, this is pretty much all you can do, with the exception of one other thing. I have 3 carabiners here. I put 1 carabiner on my rucksack because it's going to stay with it at all times. And then you just put that down on your carrying handle. Put it from sky to ground, wrap it around, and leave it unlocked. Alright, so there are 6 teams that are part of this event, okay, this squad event. First one is going to be the lashing team. Lashing team is responsible for the wraps and fraps. Okay, so what they do is they join these 2 poles up at the top of the apex. Alright, just something to remember. Okay, when you're doing your wraps, you're going to do 6 to 8 wraps, and then 4 to 6 fraps or vertical wraps. And I'll show you how we're going to do that once we get started. The next team is the spreader team. spreader team is responsible for tying the A-frame legs together to make sure that they don't kick out on us. That's solely their responsibility. Next is the apex team. What they're responsible for is to tie the bight, the anchor rope to the apex, formed in that bight, because that's what our continuous loop is going to connect to. Okay, that rope's going to run all the way back to the anchor, which leads me to our anchor team. Anchor team is exactly that. Their responsibility is to tie the anchor rope to the anchor. Next team is the continuous loop team. All right, that's what we talked about, where we're going to join those two ropes together. That's going to be our actual continuous loop. All right, that's going to be our vertical haul line. That's what we use to haul up our equipment. Next team is the mule team. The mule team is going to be responsible. They're going to be the big guys. They're going to be down at the bottom of the cliff, and they're going to be hauling that equipment up from the bottom. Lastly is a made-up team that Sapper Course does, is the safety team. Okay, so in the Sapper handbook, they'll say that there is 6 teams. There's actually 7. The last one is going to be the safety team, because we've got to preach safety, make sure nobody gets hurt. All right. Any questions about the 6 teams, and the 1 ghost team? All right, great. So what we're going to do is we're going to get started into the actual construction of the A-frame. I will need a volunteer to help me. All right, great. So I want you to stand on this side. All right, first thing we're going to do is we're going to tie the poles together, right? So we're the lashing team. So I'm going to take my first 15-foot sling rope. What I want you to do is I want you to just put these on your lap. All right. One thing we got to talk about is we got to make sure that the base are equal, and our biggest pole is on the left-hand side. It looks like this pole is going to be this pole is our bigger pole. It's already on the left-hand side, so we're good. As I'm facing away from the cliff.
Oh, that was
okay.
A question.
So it's on the left-hand side as I'm facing the cliff. Why is the left one need to be bigger? Well, because we're going to start our wraps and fraps on the left pole. So the bulk of the weight of all our wraps and fraps are coming from that left pole, so we want that left pole to be bigger. All right, so we take our first 15-foot sling rope, and we're going to get a measurement. We're going to get an 18-inch measurement. God gave us 4-inch palms, 2-inch thumbs. So you just get your measurement from the top of the rope, 6, 12, 18 inches. Once you get it there, pinch it off, and you're going to take that measurement from the top of your pole, 18 inches down. And what I want you to do is just rotate that so your running end comes down on facing you. All right, so from here, we need to tie a knot, an anchor and a rope. Okay, we're going to tie a clove hitch, but you have to pay very close attention to this clove hitch because it violates the rules. The first clove hitch that we tie is a reverse clove hitch. So when we tie our clove hitch, it's always bottom right to top left with our diagonal locket bar. Bottom right to top left. The way that we're going to tie this clove hitch is bottom left to top right. So it's very simple. We already turned our rope. We're going to throw that rope over, pull all that slack out. All right, and if we were going to make a normal clove hitch, we'd come this way and make that diagonal locking bar from right to left, right? So we're going to violate that rule, and we're going to go left to right. Again, pull all that out. All right, come back in underneath, and you're going to put run the rest of that rope through the center of your knot. Pull all that slack out. All right, now what we have here is a reverse clove hitch. As you can see, I'm going from bottom left to top right as opposed to bottom right, top left. Now, you got to do a check here, okay? We need to make sure that we still have 18 inches in this running end. So again, 6, 12, 18. I got about an inch to play, that's good. Something I didn't mention that you guys want to make sure when you're actually at Sapper School is you guys will all be issued 15-foot sling ropes. Some of them are not cut at exactly 15 feet. Take the 2 longest to use your wraps and fraps, because when you do this, it's really tight. The more rope you have, the better. Okay? A lot of them are old too, so they don't really have that elasticity. So we want to make sure they've been wet and stuff like that. So we want to make sure that we use the biggest ropes that you have in your squad. All right, so you join those ropes. Now, you're going to start your wraps from top to bottom. All right, how many wraps did I say?
6 to 8.
6 to 8. So you're going to start your wraps. Your partner just holds those logs on his lap, and you're just gonna begin to make those wraps. Every time you come around, okay, it's gonna be painful for your partner. You're gonna put your foot on and you're gonna crank. I got plenty of rope here, so I'm not gonna crank down super hard, but you're gonna crank it and get it as tight as you can. Now, what he's gonna do with his other hand is he's gonna pinch that rope so you can come back and keep that tension in there. And then he's gonna grab that rope, and then you're just gonna come from the other end and just pull it all the way through. Boom. All right, if I hit your hand, I'm sorry. Pull it nice and tight, and do another wrap. And you're gonna continue this process till you have 5 wraps, and I'm gonna tell you why. So notice how the first one wasn't a complete wrap. I got 1, 2, 3 wraps here. Nice and tight.
Is that 5? Looks like 6.
4. Yep. So that's my 4th wrap. Come around on my 5th wrap. And like I said, I have plenty of rope here. So it's gonna be a little bit different as opposed to when you're actually there. But when you're there, you'll have about 18 inches left of this rope, okay? So what we do here is we join a second rope. We join it with a square knot. Because we're doing 6 to 8 wraps and I got plenty of rope, I'm just gonna do another wrap. Okay, so I now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, this would be fine, except immediately with these next 2 ropes is I have to do my fraps, my vertical wraps. So I clearly won't have enough to do my 4 to 6 wraps here, or my fraps. So I need to join another rope. Remember that rope behind me? So again, partner's gonna hold that tension in those ropes. I'm gonna put a joining knot here, all right? I'm gonna tie a square knot. Left over right, right over left. All right, whatever one's on top stays on top. Now, when you do this, the important thing is to make sure that you have enough to do your overhand safeties and your square knot is over the center of that left pole underneath. Reason being is because 1, we're gonna pull the tension out and we want it centered up here on the left-hand pole. Reason why is because when your Sapper instructor goes to inspect your A-frame, he needs, the only reason is because all the knots gonna be on the left-hand side. He can't inspect it if it's underneath or on the other side because it's gonna be hanging over the cliff. So they pull it out, they pull it back, and they have to be able to inspect all your knots. So everything gets tied on this left-hand side. So again, all you do is just wiggle that square knot until it's underneath. All right, take all that slack out. No, you're good. All right. All right, you see how my square knot is directly under that pole? All right, now I'm gonna tie my safeties. All right, so what type of safeties do we do? Just overhand.
Yep.
Okay, so you're gonna do an overhand safety on both sides. And what's gonna be our minimum pigtail?
4 inches.
4 inches. All right, so you make sure that you have that. You're good to go. We joined our rope. Now, anytime you join a rope, you need to do a minimum of 2 more wraps. So we said that we need at least 8. Right now we're at 6. I joined on that 6th wrap. At Sapper School, you'll probably join on your 5th, okay? But as long as you do 2 more wraps and you're in between 6 and 8, you're good to go. So do another wrap. Pull that tension out, and your partner will help you do that by pulling all that rope and hand it back to you. All right, this first one doesn't count because we joined the rope there. So 1, go ahead, pull it. 2, okay? Now, stand by for a second. All right, once you have that, we count our wraps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so we're good to go. Now, what your partner's gonna do is he's gonna gently lay these poles down on the ground, right where he is. And he's gonna go to the base of your poles and lift up on the right pole. As he does that, he's gonna lift it up to his shoulder height, and you're gonna walk it in a little bit. All right, what he's doing now is we're gonna form this apex. So now, on our 8th wrap, we need to start our vertical wraps or our fraps. So all I'm going to do is take the rope from the center of our A-frame. Everybody see how I did that? Mm-hmm. And you're gonna start cranking down doing your vertical wraps. How many did I say that we need?
4 to 6.
4 to 6. Now, when you're doing your wraps, it's okay that you had you don't want any crosses on your horizontal wraps. Obviously on your vertical wraps, you can't prevent it. It's okay to have crosses. Again, you're gonna pull it down nice and tight. Each one. And you really want somebody strong when you do this because, again, you have to pull all that slack out. You're not really gonna have a lot of room. All right, so once you get your 4 fraps, my partner here is just gonna gently lay that down on its side. Okay, now, if you look here, we have the running end that was left from our wraps, and we have the running end left here. Okay, what we need to do is we need to join these 2 ropes. So again, what knot am I gonna do?
Square knot.
Square knot. Notice that the center of our clove hitch is open a little bit. So what we wanna do when we join these ropes is we wanna get this as close as we can to the center of our clove hitch. See how I got it in there nice and tight? Mm-hmm. All right, so we went left over right, right over left. Now, notice how I'm running out of room. So that's why that 18 inches is important. I gave myself an extra inch. All right, we need to do.
Wait, is that right?
Oh, I'm sorry. Granny knot. All right, make sure you have a square knot. There we go. All right, then because we don't have a rope to tie our safeties to, we're gonna do inline safeties. So all that means is we're just gonna tie safeties into the line that I already have. Okay, same thing on this side. Inline safeties.
Does it matter which way you twist it?
You always twist away from the knot. Okay. All right, notice how all my joining knots are on the left-hand side. Again, I figured out years later that the only reason why we did that is so they can inspect the knots once I was an instructor there. All right, so all my knots are on the left-hand side. Boom, lashing team, we are done. All right, so what is that second team?
Spreader.
All right, so what I want to do, stand up the A-frame. All right, I need somebody to hold it for me. And you can hold that, fine. All right, so now we're gonna move down to our next 15-foot sling rope. If everybody could come on this side, you step on that side. All right, so again, I'm gonna tie a middle of the rope clove hitch to this rope. Okay, actually this time I'm gonna tie middle of the rope clove hitch. So, the way I do it, easiest way, okay? You won't always have the opportunity to turn the car on, turn the car off, and put it on. All right, when you get inspected tying these clove hitches here, okay, they have to be correctly tied with your diagonal locking bar as if you're looking at it from the outside. So as I look at my diagonal locking bar, it needs to go from the bottom right to the top left from the outside. A method I learned that'll help me. Keep my rope on the right-hand side. Put your right shoulder into one of the A-frame poles, okay? And you're gonna come around the pole, staying over the top, make that diagonal locking bar, come back underneath, staying underneath. Do you guys see how I have that locking bar? Bottom right to top left, correct? Want me to tie it one more time? I will. All right, so I got my rope in my right hand. I got my right shoulder into the A-frame. I'm gonna come around with my running end, going over the top of my standing end, forming that diagonal locking bar. Then I'm gonna come underneath, and while staying underneath, I'm gonna go in between my 2 ropes, forming my clove hitch. All right, now obviously you want your running and standing end in the opposite direction to pull, just like all your, what you've been taught the entire time. If you need to add more slack, all right, just feed it through. If you need to take it out, just pull it out. No big deal. All right, so one characteristic of this clove hitch is we need to make sure that it is no more than 6 inches from the bottom of the pole. So what I do is I just get my measurement, all right, with my thumb, and then I can move that knot down 6 inches. Reason why we put it at 6 inches is in case of mud and snow like that, we can still get access to our ropes. Okay, so we put it up 6 inches as opposed to pulling it all the way down to the ground. All right, now we need to tie our safeties. So safeties for this is 2 half hitches. So I'm gonna make a figure 4, right? You guys remember how to do your 2 half hitches? So figure 4 through the back door. and I'm gonna pull to the left. I'm gonna come over the top again, figure 4 through the back door, and I'm gonna pull to the right. Making sure that it forms that clove hitch. You have a minimum of 4-inch pigtail. All right, now you're gonna repeat the same process on the other leg with your second 15-foot sling rope. So, as we're holding this, grab that rope. Same principles apply, okay? So do the exact same thing that you did over here. I'm gonna put all my rope on my right-hand side. I'm gonna put my right shoulder in my A-frame pole. I'm going to, with my running end, come over the top, forming that diagonal locking bar. I'm gonna come underneath, staying underneath, I'm gonna go through the center of my knot. Let out some of that slack so we have enough for our 4-inch pigtail. I'm gonna get a measurement, bottom of my pole, 6 inches. And we're gonna make sure that my diagonal locking bar is facing outside. My running and standing end are in the opposite direction to pull towards the inside of the spreaders. Same thing, figure 4 through the back door, pull to the left, figure 4 through the back door, pull to the right. Again, 2 1/2 inches forms a clove hitch. We're good to go. So, moving on, spreader team's not done yet. We need to make an equilateral triangle here. So the way that we do that is we take the measurement from one of our ropes to the apex of our leg. We get a measurement, you pinch it off there, and you're gonna bring that down to the ground, all right? And then you're either gonna bring out your leg or bring in your leg till it is even with that rope. Now we have an equilateral triangle. So now what I want my partner to do, that's holding the A-frame, you're gonna stand dead center of the apex, put your foot in right below it. I need to join these ropes. What knot am I gonna tie it with?
A Yuli.
No. A square knot, correct.
Not joke.
All right, so once I have the center, okay, you can kick in the poles about 4 to 6 inches, no big deal. All right, and we're just gonna tie a square knot.
Oh yeah, the
Oh my
Yuli
God,
is later.
sorry. All right, as long as you make sure that your square knot is over the top of that person's foot, then you know that you're centered. All right, so whatever one is on top stays on top. The square knot is directly over their foot. That's going to be in the center of your A-frame. So again, you're just going to tie your safety. You have your overhand safeties. All right, remember these ropes are going to be 15 feet, so you're not going to have all this extra play. All right, you're only going to have about this much left. All right, so you do your overhand safety on that side. You do your overhand safety on this side. All right, then we have a bunch of extra ropes, so we do rope management. They teach you two different ways. One, we could just tie it off to the actual A-frame pole by just doing, you know, a couple wraps around. The only thing is, it doesn't matter how you do it. The only thing is you don't want to have any tension on this rope. All right, so when you kick the legs back out, this rope needs to be loose. All right, I like things pretty. So what I do is I just go ahead and make a bite over the rope, and then I make my wraps from the bottom to the top. Okay, you guys might be familiar with this with the demo knot. If I hit you, I'm sorry. So much extra rope. That square knot really kicked my ass. I think it's just because there's so much extra rope. All right, so you wrap it all the way around. Once you got the majority of that rope, all right, we need to do rope management. You just put it through that bite, okay? And then you're just gonna take your wraps and push it towards the end, and then boom, super pretty, right? Rope management. Put it through the loop, and then push your wraps towards your anchor, okay? So from there, your spreader team is done. Like I said, you can kick those legs back out. Now, what I would do from here is I would bring the A-frame up to my safety line. So come back on this side. All right, Safety point. At no point through any part of this will you ever pass your safety line unless you're hooked in. At no time will you ever put yourself in between the A-frame and the cliff. That's a safety violation. So if you're gonna move this from the back of your anchor up to the safety line, you're gonna be on the side of it or on this side of it, and you're gonna pick it up and move it to the safety line. Once you get it to the safety line, you will not move it past, you will never advance the A-frame past the safety line unless you are secured in, okay? Into the safety line. You'll have like a Swiss seat on you or a Aussie rappel seat, and you'll get clipped in from there. All right, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna bring the A-frame towards us. We're moving on to the next team, which is what? Apex team. All right, so I need one person to hold this. All right, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our rope and we're gonna drape it over our apex. The measurement that we get from here for this loop is 12 to 18 inches. 14 is that magic number, but there's a couple tricks that you can do this, and I'll show you what I mean later. I like to do 12 inches because I know that if I need to make any adjustments, I'm gonna work them into the loop. I'm not gonna work them into my anchor. So the reason why there's 12 to 18, all right, as long as you have that measurement, but you'd have to, if you have any issues, you're gonna have to either work it into your anchor or work it into your bite. I'll work everything into my bite, so that's why I go with the minimum distance. So I get 6 inches, 12 inches, okay? And it's towards the bottom of the apex. Now, your partner that's holding the apex with his other hand, he's gonna pinch off the ropes right where you're at. All right, so kind of twist your body just a little bit. There you go. All right, this is the only time that you will ever step in between these ropes. We need to join these ropes, a middle of the rope anchor, so that way this bite stays in place. What do you think we need to tie? Middle of the rope clove hitch. Okay, this is a very important that you pay attention to this. Okay, right is wrong, left is right. Okay, left is right, right is wrong. So what I mean by that is when I turn left, as I'm standing in the center of this, as I turn left, left is what? Right. Left is right. So I'm going to tie a middle of the rope clove hitch the right way, which is turn the car on, turn the car off, and put them together, right? Now, make sure you keep pinching that, okay? Yep. You're gonna work all that excess out. Boom, I have middle of the rope clove hitch, bottom right, top left. This measurement is gonna be 6 inches. Notice how we have a pattern here. 6 inches from the top of your wraps, okay? Boom. Now, what did I say about the right side? Right is wrong. So instead of turning the car on and turning the car off, okay, ready? I'm gonna turn the car off, turn the car off, turn the car on. Now when I pass these over and I put it on here, and I take out all the slack, okay, they are mirroring clove hitches. So I'm going from bottom left to top right, and I'm going from bottom right to top left. So again, I'm going to tie this one more time just so you guys can see. But these on the apex have to be mirroring. So left is right, right is wrong. I'm going to tie this the wrong way. So instead of turning the car on, I'm going to turn the car off, and then I'm going to turn the car on, bring them together, and pass it over my A-frame post. How do I know these are correct? I'm going to tell you. The bottom rope that exits the diagonal bar is bottom towards the bite, top toward the anchor. So if you look at your ropes, the bottom rope that's in the center of your clove hitch is going towards the bite. Top is coming back towards my anchor. Does everybody see that? So you're gonna make sure that you have 6 inches on that one as well. This rope's not very forgiving. All right, so it's really important that these are in the exact location. You see how they're pretty much mirroring and they're in the same location, because any deviation in this is going to cause a deviation in your rope. You don't want no more than 4-inch deviation. And what I mean by deviation is when these are extended, you can pull that up a little bit. You can just pull, yep. So what I mean by 4-inch deviation, if this rope sags more than 4 inches, you can test by your fist, then that's a no-go. So you need to make sure that the tension is equal in this. All right? So from that, you can stand it up.
Do I still need to hold on to these?
Yes, you definitely. Oh, not the bite. You're good, because we got the anchor in the middle of the rope now. All right? So that second, I said you had 3 carabiners, right? Now that we have that bite, I'll go ahead and put my second carabiner on this bite. The way you do it is opening gate facing out, sky to ground, wrap it around. All right? I get a tendency to always lock my carabiners, so that way if they need to be locked, they're always locked.
Are auto locking good to go? Or?
No. Okay. Damn, that one's gonna be a little. Bring it back.
Wait, what was that about auto locking?
All right, so bring it back up. All right, so now we're moving back. Apex team is done. We're gonna move on to our anchor team. So we're gonna come back to the anchor. First thing we're gonna do is we're gonna do a check. We're gonna come back to the anchor and we're gonna look at our ropes. If it looks like we got pretty much equal tension, we're good to go on our first check. What I'm gonna do here is I'm going to make sure I have my third carabiner. Just put it in my pants for now. All right, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna slap this rope onto my anchor. All right, so I need somebody to come over here and hold on to this rope. Yep, just hold it on the anchor. So from here, I need to get a measurement. What I do is I get a double arm length measurement. The reason why I'm getting this measurement is because this is the distance, this is approximately the distance from the safety line to the cliff face. So that's why we get the measurement right here. From here, I'm gonna need to tie a double figure 8 slip. Double figure 8 slip. So my partner's gonna hold the ropes right there, making sure that they don't twist. Where I pinched off, where I got that measurement, I'm just gonna hold on to those ropes, and I'm gonna do a double figure 8 slip. So the way that I do that is with my right hand, I'm gonna grab the rope, I'm gonna turn the car on, and then I'm gonna turn the car on one more time. Then with that, the rest of that standing end, you're gonna grab a double bite and pull it through. This is the only time that you'll have an exception. You're allowed to have a cross in this rope. Okay, this is the only time that you're allowed to have a cross. Not a big deal. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tell him to let go. Like, you can let go. And I'm gonna do a second check. You're not allowed to have anything more than a half twist in these ropes. So how do I fix this? So this is one of the things where I said you could work it into your knot if you want to. I find an easier way. All right, so from here, I'm gonna figure out which way I'm crossing. I'm just gonna rotate my knot. I'm gonna rotate it, boom. All right, so now I no longer have any twists, right? So now we need to do our second check. You're gonna hold it up eye level and check the deviation. Looks like we got a little bit of a sag in that left line. So guess what we need to do? We need to tighten the line, and we're gonna put it into our bite. So that's why it's at 12 inches as opposed to 14 or 16. So now you're gonna bring in that rope, and you're gonna feed just an inch into that left bite, or that left knot. Okay, there you go, pull it back up now. All right, so I'm gonna pull it tight, check the deviation. We look pretty good right there. And it's not 4 inches, so we're good to go. So from here, what I need to do is I need to secure this slip knot. The way I do it is I just put a half hitch over the top of it. All right, and that's gonna secure that slip knot. Now, all right, if you get a twist, just undo it. Make sure you get that twist out. All right, you're allowed to have a half twist, but nothing more than that. All right, so then you go ahead, take that half hitch, and put it over the top of your rope. Okay, hold on, tighten it down. All right, so from here, you're gonna take this rope, and this is really rough rope. Your rope won't be that rough. All right, you're gonna take your rope, and you're gonna go in front of your anchor. So all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this figure 8 slip. I'm gonna go in front of my anchor. I'm gonna put that carabiner in. And my partner's gonna take this rope, wrap it around my anchor from right to left. Okay, making sure that those twists, we don't have any of those twists. All right, when I stand in front of my anchor, just hold on. When I stand in front of my anchor, I want to make sure that I'm about 12 inches away with that carabiner. All right, so you're gonna take those 2 lays of rope, you're gonna have, and your anchor team is gonna consist of 2 people. One person's gonna put pressure here. The other person's, hold on. Sorry. You're gonna bring the 2 lays of rope and put them in your carabiner.
Right to left, top to
No,
bottom.
just click him. So all you're gonna do is just click in.
Oh.
All right, and come back. Going. Hold on, Tonto. All right, coming back underneath your 2 lays. All right, so now you're gonna come underneath. Don't pull all the tension out yet. All right. Once we have this here, okay, we are gonna do a weight test. Okay, so the way that we need to do our weight test is we're gonna bring it out to the cliff face. All right, so they hold this here. Our safety team, we take a tactical pause. They'll stop the time. Safety team's gonna proceed this out to the cliff. We don't ever let our A-frame go out to the cliff unless the anchor is secure. Right now it's secured by them. So we're gonna take our A-frame. 2 safeties are gonna be clipped in by cadre. They're gonna lift it up, take it to the cliff, kick out those legs, and we're gonna start to let it go. All right, so just one thing, safety tip here, okay? You're not gonna lean out, all right? You're gonna let gravity take hold. Once gravity takes hold, you need to let go of that A-frame. If the cadre sees you trying to lean in to hold it from going, it's gonna be a safety violation. So once it starts going, you can be on this side. Once it starts going, let it go. So what we need to do here is we need to let out the slack of our anchor to about 30 degrees. So your safety team is going to be past that safety line. They're going to tell you slack or no slack, okay? So you're going to have him, he's going to feed slack into the line until it's about 30 degrees. And so all you're going to do is you're just going to feed this in until you're at about 30 degrees.
How do you know if it's 30 degrees?
It's an estimate, rough estimate, okay? Keep slack, okay? So you just feed that through. That's gonna be about 30. All right, so the reason why we go to 30 degrees, because once we secure this in, we have to do a weight test. We wanna make sure that our A-frame doesn't succeed past 45 degrees. But the way that we do that is we test 1/3, 2/3, and 3/3 body weight. All right, so once we have it at 30 degrees, all right, this is where we do one of our final checks. We trace our ropes back. We make sure that we don't have, from the safety line back to the anchor, we don't have no more than 4 inches of deviation. All right, I said you're allowed to have a half twist, right? What do we have here? Just a half twist, okay? It's not an issue. Boom, I fixed our ropes. Not a big deal. Half twist is okay, full twist is not. All right, so from here, you're gonna bring, one person's gonna hold on to these ropes that are here. You're gonna bring the rest of that anchor rope back around your anchor. Now, we are gonna tie a tensionless anchor here. So what I need to do is make sure that we go, we're gonna tie a double clove hitch slip. So we're gonna go under 2, over 4, okay? But first, we need to have 3 wraps. Come around. And as you're doing this, that person is holding tension on that line, so we don't let our A-frame go any further than 30 degrees. Pull it around, that's 2. And we come back one more time. All right, so now, what did I say we need to do? What do we need to tie? Double clove hitch slip. So I need to go under 2, over 4. So I'm gonna take the rope, I'm gonna go under 2, over 4. You're gonna pull all that slack out. Okay, now, I created a big window and a little window. A little window and a big window. Okay, so I'm gonna reach through the little window. Reach through the big window. Nope, I was right. All right, reach through the little window, and you're gonna form that diagonal locking bar by going over the top of your rope, forming that diagonal locking bar. Does everybody see that? Then I'm gonna have another big window and a small window. I'm gonna reach through the small window again, grab a double bite. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull that double bite through the center of my rope. So now what I formed is a double clove hitch slip. Reason why we do the clove hitch slip as opposed to the actual clove hitch is just so it's easier to take down when we're done. All right, so we have the clove hitch slip. We're gonna push this towards our carabiner. All right, and that's gonna secure that in. At this point, it becomes a tensionless anchor. You can let go. All of our weight is gonna be in our wraps. Now, secure that carabiner, lock that carabiner. You should have a little bit of extra rope. We need to do rope management. All you need to do is just lay it in front of your anchor like such. So from here, the anchor is secured. So now, what we can do is we're gonna pull this back. All right, we would take a pause. All right, so two things will happen simultaneously. All right, so we have this secured. While this is happening, the apex, the spreaded team, the continuous loop team can be working too, okay? So this works simultaneously. Continuous loop team, once the time starts, you guys will start working, and I'm gonna show you what we're gonna do here. All right, so come over to the continuous loop. You're good right here. I need a partner here. We're gonna see if you know how to tie knots. All right, so you're gonna take these two ropes. We're gonna join these ropes together, but we're not gonna tie a square knot. What are we gonna tie?
Figure 8.
Figure 8 bend, right? So you're gonna do your figure 8. It's very important though. All right, so you can go two ways. You can go start easy and hard, or start hard and easy. Peeing over the cliff, peeing into the bucket, okay? I like to go over the cliff, push it to one side, and then you're gonna trace it around. I trace on the inside.
So it doesn't matter what side I'm doing figure 8 on?
You're gonna be on the same side as me, so you're gonna mirror what I do. So if I'm on the right-hand side, you're gonna be on the right-hand side. Okay, good question. All right, so I'm actually gonna trace outside, staying on top. Follow that racetrack all the way around, making sure that my running end stays on top. I'm gonna take a look, make sure I have no twists. Just kidding. All right.
Yeah, so
You gotta pass that one over the top of it because you gotta cross. All right, so you're gonna make, there you go. Hold that one tight and you should be good. There you go. All right, so you're gonna make sure that these are tied correctly. The way that you do that is you're not gonna trust your partner. You're gonna hand them yours and they're gonna hand you yours and you're gonna inspect them. Like, yep, okay, run your fingers around the racetracks, we're good to go. All right, now, this is very important, okay? The smarter guy of the group is gonna choose a side, all right? I'm gonna assume that it's me, so I'm gonna say my right, okay? So when I say my right, I'm gonna go like this.
my left?
He's gonna mirror me, okay? So, with this being said, I need to get an 18-inch measurement from this joining knot. So how do I do that? 6, 12, 18. We're gonna test your skills again.
Oh, here we go.
All right. So we need to tie a fixed loop in a rope. What are we gonna tie?
Double figure of 8.
Double figure of 8 on the same side that I'm tying it on. All right. So I put it in my pinky, do my flip-de-do, not my flip-de-don't, and then I pull it through. And then boom, you have no twist. Now just make sure that that is big enough to pass carabiner through, but not so big that you fit your hand through, right? So I'm good to go. Pressure's on. You're gonna reconfirm your distance. Make sure that you're 6, 12, 18 inches away. You're good to go.
Now, Sarah, what if you have like itty bitty hands? Should I?
Compensate.
Okay.
Yeah. That's why I always do about an inch more because I got like bear pig hands. Yes.
Sorry, what if you have really long fingers?
Okay, I've seen someone with like 9.5-inch hands. You just gotta decompensate, okay? All right, so again, we don't trust our partner to make sure that they tie it the correct way, so we're gonna pass it on. They're gonna inspect mine, I'm gonna inspect theirs. No crosses. My hand can go through, but my fist can't come out. No fisting, right?
No.
All right, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take one side of the rope. I'm gonna take mine and keep it in my hand. Everything else is gonna get backstacked into a trash bag. So your partner here if we had a trash bag, would start from his end, just back stacking all the rope into the trash bag. So you can pretend you're doing that. Yep, all of it, both sides. Double back stack. Boom, 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 boom. Keep going, pull all that slack out. All right, all of that goes into a trash bag except for the double figure of 8 that you chose, okay, whoever the smart guy was. That stays outside the trash bag. The continuous loop team then takes that, brings it over to your safety line, and that's where it's gonna stay until they're ready. Once the continuous loop team is done, I suggest using the mule team as your continuous loop team because they can do that and then head to the bottom of the cliff with their rucksack. Okay, so that's all back stacked in a trash bag. You got your double figure of 8 out here. Now we're gonna move back to our apex. Take all your rope. All right, so your safety team is then gonna grab the ropes. They're not gonna grab the A-frame. They're gonna grab the ropes and they're gonna pull it back. When they pull it back, okay, they're gonna let gravity take hold and it's gonna fall down in place. What we're gonna do is we're gonna hook that loop on our carabiner. So right now I just unlock that carabiner, hook it on there. Then I'm gonna lock that carabiner. What I'm gonna do is then advance the A-frame. The two safeties are just gonna push it out. Hold on to that rope. All right, and then once it starts to, gravity starts to take hold, they let it kick out. All right, maybe it wasn't at 30. All right, so they're gonna kick it out. Now, what's gonna end up happening is the people that are up at the top, this can now be the apex person, whoever has the bag, is gonna throw the rope over the cliff. Before they do that, they're gonna yell, rope. They will not throw that rope until they hear at the bottom of the cliff, the mule team echoes, rope, 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 and then they throw it off the cliff, all right? Just hold this up like this. All right, so now come down to the bottom of my cliff. All right, the first thing that's gonna happen is the mule team is then gonna race to find the dirty end, okay? Oh, I'm sorry. From here, right? The mule team is gonna grab the rope. They're gonna conduct their weight test. Okay, so how do we do that? What did I say? 1/3, 2/3, 3/3. So the first thing, you can let go of it now. All right, so the first thing they're gonna do is they're gonna pull down 1/3 of their body weight. Can you kick that up against my clip? Thank you. All right. When you get out there on the ledge, there'll actually be like little grooves that you put your A-frame in. Make sure that you put them there so the legs don't kick out. All right, so you're gonna do your 1/3, 2/3, 3/3 body test. All right, what you're looking for at the top of the cliff is that bobber effect. 1, 2, 3. Once you see it 3 times, you're gonna pull this back up. So they're gonna go ahead and do 1/3, then they're gonna do 2/3, and then they're gonna do their whole body weight. All right, and make sure that it doesn't kick out. The top, everybody else that's at the top of the cliff, they're making sure that this does not exceed 45-degree angle, which looks like we did not, correct? All right, so when that happens, they see that bobber effect, they're gonna go ahead, safety team is then making sure again they're hooked in, they're gonna pull this back. When they pull this back, we are then gonna hook this rope on the dirty side. We know what side is the dirty side because it's the side that doesn't have the double figure of 8 or the figure 8 bend. All right, so we take it off from the figure 8 and we just throw that layer rope in there. Secure that carabiner and then we push it back out. All right, so back at the bottom of the cliff, once this happens, the mule team is gonna race to find the dirty end on their side. So what they're doing is where's my other mule? Get on this side. What they're doing is they're taking that rope, and you can grab your side of the rope. They're taking their rope and they're just back stacking it until they find the dirty side, okay? The dirty side is this side, okay? Because this is the side that has that double figure that we already predetermined up at the top. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this off, all right, undo that double figure of 8, and I'm gonna trace my rope, which we already know is this one because I backstacked it to the left-hand side when we were racing, and I'm gonna get a measurement to the bottom of my cliff. Once I get a measurement to the bottom of my cliff, then I'm gonna tie another double figure of 8. Why do I do this? So now we have the perfect measurement from bottom of the cliff to top of the cliff. So when I haul, it's gonna act as if a seesaw effect. One of the double figure of 8s is gonna pull up the ruck, the one that's at the top, the other one's gonna come down to the bottom. So then as soon as this one's up at the top, I can hook up that next ruck, and then we go back the other way. So we tie that double figure of 8. Flip-de-doo, not my flip-de-don'ts. Fucking perfect every time. Alright, you got that measurement, good to go. Now, you hook this into your ruck. Again, your ruck will be at the bottom of the cliff, so can you just grab that ruck? That ruck's heavy, so I don't know if this is gonna work. But alright, so you hook that carabiner to your double figure of 8. Lock that carabiner. And then you're going to begin that pull. Now, this takes a lot of strength. Alright, when you start pulling, you're going to start pulling from that side. Okay, you pull from that side. As they pull, let's make sure this is full. Okay, keep pulling. Alright, it's going to come to the top. If you notice, as it's coming up to the top, that double figure of 8 that was down at the bottom is now, that was up at the top is now coming down. So this is going to come all the way up. That double figure 8 is going to go down. Boom. Now this is standing up top. We can hook up another ruck, pull this back, unhook this ruck, and start going the opposite direction and pulling up the other way. So now we can get 2 rucks on the pulley system at once. Okay, so in terms of your test, or your evaluation, once you hook up this ruck and the mule team starts pulling, you're going to get the ruck all the way up. This bitch is heavy. Alright, once you get the ruck all the way up to the top of the cliff, the safety team, the apex team, the anchor team, everybody that's up here, is you're going to take this rope and you're going to pull it back. This is going to be dangling. Mule team's going to be holding this pressure here. So can I get like 3 people to pull the ropes? You're going to pull the A-frame back off the top of the cliff. What's going to happen is then the safety team is going to come get the ruck. Alright, making sure that they are hooked in, not passing their cliff, alright, not putting themselves in between the A-frame and the cliff, and they're going to unhook their ruck. I'll put it on the ground so you can get it. Alright, when they unhook it, carabiner stays with the ruck. Because remember, each ruck has their own carabiner, that's why we hooked it on in the beginning. Alright, carabiner stays with the ruck.
Is it okay for that one to be auto-locking carabiner?
Yeah, I'm sorry, they are all auto-locking. Okay. I said that wrong. Alright, so they're going to pull that ruck off. Here's the key. If that ruck touches the ground, the time stops. So when you take it off, you need to hold it, pass it on, or pass it back. Okay? Your apex team and anchor team, they can go ahead and advance this back. When they do so, you're holding that ruck. Now, if time hasn't expired, you haven't hit your 20 minutes yet, now you inspect it one last time. You make sure you got your tensionless anchor. You make sure all your carabiners are locked. You make sure that there's no more than a 4-inch deviation.
Is that a problem?
It won't be a problem as long as there's no more than 4-inch deviation. That's going to happen with the slide. All right? You're going to pull this back. Safety is going to be locked in. You're going to make sure that all your knots are on the left-hand side. You're going to make sure that your bite is no more than 12 to 18 inches. Okay? You're going to make sure this carabiner is locked. Make sure all your knots are tied. Make sure you have more than a 4-inch pigtail for all your jointed knots. Make sure that your spreaders are tied correctly with your clove hitches facing outward from bottom right to top left. Making sure the square knot is tied right with all your safeties. And that is it. When you are finished, you will drop that ruck. Time will stop.
So you just have to pull 1 ruck up?
1 ruck. That's all you got to do for your evaluation.
How are the mule team getting down?
They walk to the bottom of the cliff.
And
That's it. That's their only job. So they do. That's why I say you can use a continuous loop team as your mule team. They tie the continuous loop.
do they make it down in
time? Yeah. Yep. It's a 94-foot cliff, 92-foot cliff. So they walk down. Once they tie that continuous loop, it only takes them less than 10 minutes to walk down. It's going to take you about 16 minutes to get to this portion of throwing the rope down. Weight test and pull should only take no more than 2 minutes.
So it's tight, but it's definitely doable. in
Yes,
2 minutes.
absolutely. When I was instructing there was classes. Yeah, I had 2 classes that made it in time. All right, so it's definitely doable. My class when I went through did not make it in time, but I've never seen the A-frame prior to going. So, all right, so yes.
Don't make it in time, is it just no go?
No go for the whole squad. Yep. There's not certain points that you get, go or no go. It's either go or no go.
And during the event, do you have like a squad leader that's normally telling people, hey, you're on this team, this team, this team?
I suggest having somebody that's either a recycle or that is familiar with this. Like if you guys get real fluent in the next couple weeks, be the one in charge. Like, hey, I need 2 for Apex team. I need 2 for spreader team. I need mule team to be the continuous loop team. They need to be strong. I need smart people down at the anchor to make sure that we do our wraps right. All that good stuff. Okay, so yeah, I definitely suggest somebody taking charge.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so without further ado, that completes my class. If you guys have any other questions, you can kill that now.